G'day, welcome to Cephalon Squared, a podcast about Warframe. My name is Cephalon Greg. I'm joined by Cephalon Lucas, my co-host. How are you all today, and how are you especially, Lucas?
I'm good, mate. How's yourself?
I'm all right. It's been one of those crazy weeks, but you live and you plow through it and you move on.
Play Warframe when everything gets hard.
Exactly, and you forget about stuff. Um, you do. So this is a really busy um, episode, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. There was a lot to discuss, particularly a lot from Devstream 114, a little bit of news on top of that, and of course we've got our beginners and advanced tips towards the end of the episode, so we may as well kick straight into it so we don't end up going way over time. Here we go. The news. It was announced towards the end of last week, just prior to the dev stream, that the Acolyte event would be coming back. So it looks to me like events are starting to become a little bit more regular. At least on PS4, we had the Fomorian that's going on at the moment. Last week we had the what was it called?
The tactical alert.
Tactical alert, thank you, because
Yep.
my brain stops. It's good at that. And we've got the Acolyte event coming up on all platforms starting August 7, North American time at least. That'll be the 8th for us here in Australia, but yeah, next week, or this week, really, a couple of days. And if you've never done the Acolyte event, basically the Acolytes are the Stalker's buddies. So you should have seen the Stalker by now. He is a Warframe-like character who tries to kill you as often as possible. And he's got a bunch of buddies called the Acolyte, all with wonderful little names. There's Angst, Malice, Mania, Misery, Torment, and Violence. They're all lovely guys. The good thing about these events, so basically what happens, just to go over it really quickly for you, one of them will appear at a certain planet at a certain time, and players need to find where they are. So players will go from node to node to node to node on that planet, and once they find out where they are, the game will then notify everyone that, for example, Angst is at this place on Neptune or wherever it may be, and then you just farm that place, and you've got to go into every single room until you find the Acolyte, and then kill him, and kill him good, and he'll drop a mod. So these guys drop 20 mods in total, all of which are considered, or not all of which, but some of which are considered some of the best mods in the whole game because of the perks that they have. I'm not going to go into them because there are 20 of them, but you do really, really, really want to farm for these guys. Particularly, you want to look out for Body Count, Weeping Wounds, Blood Rush, Argon Scope, Maiming Strike, and Bladed Rounds, but there are plenty of others that you would want to look out for, and I'm sure I've missed something that's someone's favorites. All of them, every one of that is, except for Misery, will drop 4 mods, or they'll drop one of 4 mods that only they carry, and Misery has the chance to drop any of the 20 mods, but only one, of course. Are you farming for anything this time around, Lucas?
I think I might be chasing down an Argon scope.
Yes.
That's pretty much the only thing I've really got my eye set on this time. How about yourself?
I got myself an Argon Scope last time, but I missed out on a lot of other things. So I'd like to get Weeping Wounds, I'd like to get Blood Rush, I'd like to get Maiming Strike, particularly before these melee changes. Not that I really think that anything's going to happen to those mods. I think they'll still be pretty good after the changes, but I'd like to get them now anyway. So farm. All right. Apart from that, the only other piece of news, there were a couple of other little tidbits, but they were also mentioned in the dev stream, so I've pulled them into the dev stream discussion. I just wanted to have a little bit of a shout out to Faven, Frederick Avon, one of the Tenergen artists. He is very well known for the Grax skins, and he shared a Limbo work in progress this week, and I had a look at it and I thought it looks pretty awesome. I'm not a big fan of Limbo because I just don't like the gentleman stylings of him. Lucas loves him, but that's just me. But the Grax Limbo looks pretty cool. Did you check it out, Lucas?
I did, and it's amazing. It actually looks quite terrifying, to say the
Yeah.
least.
It also, I don't know if you've played or seen Nier Automata, but it also had some Nier Automata vibes for me. The robots, not so much the androids, and that's what I liked about it. It looks pretty cool. So shout out to Frederick Avon, who is at Frederick Avon on Twitter. Yeah, check his stuff out. He's really good. I'm a big fan of the Grack stuff. Alrighty, anything else on any of that news before we continue?
No, I think you covered that pretty well. Just to clarify with the audience that the Acolyte event is basically a giant game of hide and seek.
Yes, that is true. All right. Discussion, the Devstream. Devstream 114 was only a day or so ago. Afterwards, we were pleased to see, of course, an Orokin Catalyst and a Riven mod gifted a Lotus alert. So that was really good. It's gone now, so you've missed it. Didn't get anything terribly special, unfortunately, but that is life, the luck of the RNG. So we're going to go in order, mostly in order of what was mentioned. We did juggle a couple of things around just so that there are some like-for-like topics, but the first thing that was mentioned was that the Sacrifice Twitch drops, which were, of course, for the Sacrifice when the Sacrifice first went live on PC. They're starting again next week, also from August 7th, because a lot of my console brethren, or our console brethren, brothers and sisters, missed out on those Twitch drops back when the PC guys got to have it. So they'll be happening again. There's a couple of different days. It's a little bit haphazard, so I'm going to put the details on the Facebook page. I also retweeted the Warframe announcement earlier today. So look for that or check out our Facebook page and you'll be able to see the details.
They also mentioned we have Facebook now.
We do. So I'll get into that at the end of the podcast where you can find us, but it's pretty obvious where you can find us. It's at Cephalon Squared. It's not going to be anything else. The next thing that was mentioned is a Switch port. It is coming along nicely. They said that it looks really good and it plays really well, but they've got no further updates for now. They are still working on the migration, but nothing to announce. So I think it's going to be like that for a while. As much as I'd like to see it come out this year, I'm not sure that's going to be possible because it'll be a pretty big port, and who knows when they started it. So the next thing, they did go into a dojo of some guys who seem to have a hell of a lot of time on their hands, and that's not really intending to pick on the guys because they did a fantastic job. Their dojo looks amazing. They had some things that look like Fortuna. They had some forest. They had an upside down forest. Did you check out that dojo?
I did check out that dojo, and honestly, it's given me a lot of ideas.
Yeah. So you have done a fairly good job of some things in our dojo, but compared to what those guys have done, my God, they've probably played more hours just fiddling with their dojo than I have played the entire game. But the interesting thing that came out of that is that DE mentioned that they're going to be adding featured dojos. So when you're down looking at your dojo in the bottom left of the star chart, there'll be a bunch of different dojos that you can go and check out week by week. So you can enter the dojo, walk around, see what they've done, get some ideas. I think that's a really good idea because it helps sort of showcase different dojos and make people feel special within their clan.
They did mention that with these dojo, the viewing dojos, that they will be based on a contest of some sort. We don't know the details of the contest yet, but that's something to look forward to in the future.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's another thing to keep in mind. I must have missed that part, so thank you, Lucas. Another thing that was mentioned in regards to dojo is that there's a bunch of upgrades that are coming. So there's new colors, of course, which are always being released, but they're releasing some new textures and rocks and grass and ice and other natural decor that's coming. It looked pretty impressive. Exactly how much it's going to cost the clan is yet to be determined or, yet to be understood. But, based on what the guys have been able to create so far, there's going to be some really interesting worlds happening inside people's dojos in the future, I think.
And there was also mentioning of a completely blank room where you can literally do whatever the hell you want with.
Yes, which is interesting. I didn't quite understand that because I haven't played with the dojos too much, but yeah, it's like a sandbox room, which is really cool. I'm sure you will play with that quite a lot because you do love your personally designed stuff, which is cool.
Customization is glorious.
Indeed, that's why you like the Zords so much.
Mm.
Moving along, Gas City is a rework that's being made for some of the Corpus tiles. Now, because they're referring to it as Gas City, I was talking to you about this earlier, Lucas. It sounds like it's more so going to be applying to Jupiter than to Venus.
Yes.
But I would imagine that because it is a rework of Corpus tiles, it may be all of the places that use the Corpus tile set. But we'll see. Because, of course, Jupiter, while it does use Corpus tile set, it also uses very, very specific tiles that are specific only to Jupiter. So I'm pretty sure that's what they mean when they refer to the Gas City rework. The interesting thing that they've mentioned about that, it's not just going to be a rework for the Corpus tiles. There's going to be new lore, new story behind it. There's going to be new movement challenges because there's a lot of distance between things. Frankly, it looks really cool. It looks really different to pretty much anything else that's in Warframe to date. And there was a sense of, I don't know, foreboding's not so much the word, but just emptiness that I really liked about it. It was massive and empty and just, it had a really dark sort of feeling and tone to it that I enjoyed. Your thoughts?
I don't know about you, but did you notice that in one of the locations that was basically right at the very base before you drop into the gas, I guess you could call it, there was actually one of the security terminals?
Yes.
On the rotating pad. So that is going to be quite interesting. I'm very much looking forward to this because Gas City seems to be predominantly a Jupiter thing. I'm wondering if how this is going to affect Alad V and the the boss fight based around him. I'm really excited, especially to see what kind of lore they throw in for it as well.
Yeah, so there's a few things to be excited about. From what I've heard, it may end up being that this is going to be released prior to the Fortuna release, so it could be something that's coming soon. But that wasn't anything. That was more of a rumor than an announcement. So who knows when it'll be released realistically. So part of discussing the new movement challenges, they mentioned that they're looking at wall hopping. So a lot of people have often had a bit of a joke at Warframe's expense about how you're this amazing ninja that can bullet jump and do all sorts of crazy and amazing movements, and yet you need to sort of hop from place to place along a wall. So they're looking at bringing wall running back. So wall running was in the original version of Warframe when it was released all those years ago, and when Movement or Parkour 2.0 was released, it was changed to the wall hopping. And the reason for that is because with the wall running, you used to get stuck on little edges popping out of the wall. So we still have a bit of a laugh about door frame being the most annoying thing in Warframe. So possibly once they fix that, we could be wall running all over the place, and it could be a very, very different game. Plus, add on top of that all of the melee changes that are coming that we're about to get into. Warframe's going to be a different game in the future, I think.
Oh yes, definitely. Now, I personally don't have much of an issue with the wall hopping, but it will be very interesting to see how the wall running is implemented to adjust to the walling textures.
Yeah, and I hope there is still some aspect of being able to hop from wall to wall. So if you can run and hop, I think that would be ideal because the ability to sort of run and cling onto the wall and jump from one part to another is part of what makes Warframe exciting because the maneuvering is not so simple. So if you're able to run and then sort of grab onto a part of the wall and jump over to a different part, that could be cool. So I guess we've just got to wait and see. But interesting. Next, there was a mention of Venus. Nothing terribly much, but just in regards to the variety of the fauna that will be on Venus. So, of course, you saw the little dude that they captured in the Fortuna demo, and they did show off a relatively ugly or relatively cute version of a Kubro, depending on which side of the fence you sit on. I thought the baby looked pretty cute, and the adult looked fairly menacing, which I guess is what they're going for. But they use that as an example to show that there's going to be adults, there's going to be cub versions, there's going to be male and female animals. So when you're out there capturing animals as part of the conservation aspect of Venus, you're not just going to be chasing after 4 different animals and that's about it. There's going to be a variety of animals and variety within each animal type. So that's pretty cool.
They also did mention that within the varieties, there would be a special animal to capture as well.
A special animal to capture.
Yes, a much rarer one. They just they didn't really give much detail on it. They just said there would be a rare variant to also capture.
Okay. I didn't hear that part. I was pretty sleepy because I woke up super early to check it out. So my bad. Lucky Lucas was paying attention. All right. Let's get into discussing the Melee rework. Now, they did refer to it as a rework, but it's really Melee 3.0. It's massive changes. They are going to do they're going to change a lot of the stats of the weapons like they did with the primary and secondary reworks, but I think that's going to come part and parcel with the rework as a whole. I thought it might be coming separately, but based on some of the things they said in the Devstream, it sounds like they're working on everything together, so it will all be a cohesive change, which makes sense. So, changing the weapons so that the stats change now and then changing everything over to Melee 3.0 later doesn't necessarily make sense, but yeah. They mentioned they're about halfway through, maybe. So Reb and even Steve mentioned they're probably about 50% of the way through, but a couple of the other guys there on the dev stream were not quite so confident that they were 50% of the way through. But I think that's because Steve mentioned that now they've probably done a lot of the technical stuff and it's going on to the sound and the art design team. So it was Jeff from the art design team who was a little bit less confident. So it's probably because it's on his team now. Yeah, so from what they showed, there was also a couple of things that seemed to be unfinished as well, or maybe they just weren't. They hadn't been added to that version of the dev environment. So it's hard for us to say, not really knowing or not being part of DE ourselves. But what they did show was really cool. So rather than just spamming the circle button on PS4 or the E button on your PC or whatever it is that you play on, they're looking to make Melee more meaningful and have a little bit more, and to give players a little bit more, probably a lot more, control over what they're doing. Another thing they mentioned that they wanted to try and get rid of is the fact that stances, which are really cool, and they give every single weapon a different combo set. The problem is every combo set for every weapon type or every stance is really different, and it means players need to learn timing. They need to learn which buttons to press and when, and a lot of players don't invest that time. For me, I haven't invested that time. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't even know it existed. For me, I use my quick melee button all the time while I'm shooting. I almost never switch to my melee weapon. But based on what they've shown here, I think that might be changing. So they're adding movement. So if you push forward, for example, you're going to do a certain type of attack. If you push left or right, the attacks are going to change. If you pull back, you can do other changes. Adding blocks can sort of parry and return bullets and do all sorts of different things and allow you to build up your combo counter. What else did you see there that looked pretty cool?
Well, as you said, they're going to be changing it to directional combos.
I think the thing that stuck out for me most was that these movement or these directional combos are going to apply to all stances. So rather than each stance having its own specific combo, the combos will be the same, or they'll be similar across everything. So you won't need to learn different combos for different weapons. You'll just need to learn how to use the combos, and that will basically draw out the animation. And I think that's really cool, because some of the animation that they showed was really impressive and really does make you look and feel like a ninja, or at least I can't say I felt like a ninja. I was just watching someone else play, but it was really impressive, and I want to be able to do all that stuff and to sit. I don't know if it's simplifying things until we actually play with it. That's the thing. I think there might be a lot of players out there who have mastered the current melee technique, and they might think that this is dumbing down or simplifying things, but realistically, I think they've actually added so much that it might be more complex, even though they've sort of simplified the combos. They've added a heavy attack that can be charged and added to your combos. They've also added the ability to cancel animations. So that was one of the things that I get really frustrated with when I'm swinging my Galatine Prime, for example, and swinging really slowly, and I've pressed the button twice, and it's going to do 2 swings. And after the first swing, I know that I want to do something else, but I have to wait for that second damn animation to finish. So the ability to cancel animations is going to be pretty cool as well.
Yeah, and also being able to just do aerial combos, that's going to be quite interesting. One of the things I have to say, watching the dev stream over the weekend, just all the aerial combat and the directional slams, all that made me really think back to the Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon movie.
Yes. It did look pretty cool. And, that's something I didn't mention, actually, the directional slam. So if you have played a lot of Warframe, you know that you can jump up and look down at the ground and press your melee button, and you'll do a little ground slam, which can knock enemies over. Now you can actually use some of that built-up combo to use a heavy slam, which is entirely directional. So rather than just slamming straight down onto the ground like you do now with the regular ground slam, you can basically slam out on an angle and direct your attack at a specific enemy, which is really cool. And some of you probably know I'm a Destiny player as well. Is one of my favorite abilities for the Titan Strikers. So it's good to see some new things coming to Warframe that is really going to change the game up and make it a hell of a lot more fun.
And did you see the shockwave that the heavy slam gave?
Yes, that's part of what makes it exciting.
Wow, what a shockwave! That is going to destroy many a Grineer.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're checking the balance of things, but it did look pretty damn powerful. So
there was also the mention of range and attack speed changes.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think at the moment they feel like there's a lot of weapons, such as the dual daggers, that just don't have the range that makes them viable. So they will be revisiting a lot of weapon types to just add in that little bit extra range, just to make them more viable for gameplay.
Yeah, which is exciting because some of those weapons look really cool. But they're just not, when it's easy to go in with the Atarak slide attack because you get a 15-meter radius. It's not as easy to justify bringing in a Rakta Dark Dagger or something like that, although the Rakta Dark Dagger is pretty cool. Combo counters will be changed, but D didn't really go into that at the moment. Probably because it's not locked in, it's not set in stone. There will still be a combo, but the way it'll build will work really differently, which is probably not a terribly bad thing at the moment. We were talking about this the other day. It takes like 170 or 150 odd kills just to get up to a 3 times combo. No, hits, not kills. And you just sort of feel like you're swinging and spamming that button forever. So making these changes is going to make melee more meaningful and feel less like you just can press a button and go to sleep. So they did mention that there will be a second dev stream that will cover this, as well as how the mods will be affected, because there's a lot of people out there wondering, how Maiming Strike will be affected, for example, or there's going to be changes to channeling as well, and there's a hell of a lot of different channeling mods out there. So people are wondering how that's going to happen, and I think they're still working through some of that stuff. So there'll be a second dev stream in the future that will cover that and combos as well. So one thing they did mention that was pretty exciting is that blocking will now add towards your combo counter. So while you're blocking, you're actually still building towards a combo, and it's not a complete waste. So you can close up some of that space, for example, and block, and then whip out a heavy attack when you get in within a striking distance. So it's really going to change up play quite a lot.
Something like that actually makes me wonder if I should invest in a parry build, put on an automatic blocking mod for the Warframe. Because that would be something interesting to look at.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. This is why we have you here, Lucas. You've got the interesting thoughts. For me, I'm a simple guy. I like to keep things simple. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. They also mentioned that bullet jump when you are using your melee, so specifically when you have your melee weapon active, when you bullet jump, it will add an automatic attack when you're close to enemies, which is cool. So you don't have to try and spam that timing to hit those guys in the face as you're jumping past them. So I'm looking forward to that. Then they mentioned something that I'm sure Lucas got really excited about. The one-handed secondary and one-handed melee will be coming with these changes. What were your thoughts?
Well, where do I start?
At the beginning.
I think my biggest thought with this is the fact that how could they time this any better? I mean, they've got the Zors at the moment, and you can make some amazing one-handed melee weapons. But now with Venus coming out, they're bringing in the kit guns. So now you're going to be able to make some very impressive secondary weapons. It just means customizing a Warframe's kit will just be so much more elaborate.
Yes, back on that customization train. So for someone such as yourself who loves to make his own weapons, it's really perfect for you.
It is amazing.
I'm still not sold on the idea of Zors. I like the idea of a pre-made, pre-designed weapon that, in my opinion, looks better. I haven't seen the kit guns. I mean, the Zors, they look exactly how they are. They're meant to be something that you've put together from components, so they look like sort of raw, and some of them are damn powerful. I've seen some of the stuff that you've made, so I'm not gonna say they're no good, but I don't know. I'm just a sucker for what's given to me, I guess. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I saw Rebecca Ford was playing with, I think she was actually using a Lato Prime, so not many of us can use that. So she was using a Lato Prime and a glaive, I think.
Yes. And that's already available in game now.
It is.
But what they did show was how the Melee 3.0 is going to be a lot smoother with the dual wielding.
Yes, and I was a little bit disappointed because, and I think they were as well, that they weren't able to get a few other weapons working. They did try it. They tested it. They took about 5 minutes trying to get some weapons applied, but all they could do was the Lato and the glaive, which, as you mentioned, is already a combination that's available in game. So it'll be exciting to see what we can do. Oh, I think she actually got to get the Euphona Prime working as well, or they were just talking about it? Can't remember. Doesn't matter. There's lots of exciting things coming in the future. So the last thing that was sort of mentioned in regards to Melee 3.0 was channeling. It's not going to be removed from the game completely, which is what I was kind of expecting. And it's a good thing, because to remove channeling from the game entirely would probably have far-reaching impact, would probably be impossible to do because it's tied into so many different functions and processes within the game. I think they just couldn't do it. So rather than removing it, it will be changed. It's not going to drain your energy anymore, which is fantastic. It'll actually be a reason to use it. So it's basically going to be a form of rage. So when you channel, you'll be able to sort of power yourself up and you'll go into Super Saiyan mode or something like that and do extra damage. So exactly how that's going to work, and the fact that it doesn't use your energy, are you going to be able to use it all the time, or is there a certain time to charge it up? Or I'd just be interested to see how it all works, but that could be an interesting addition.
All I can say to that is, Super Saiyan Zephyr.
Yes. Your love for Zephyr goes deep.
It does. It does.
It does. And it's new too. It's a new love. See, it's still in that honeymoon period. I understand.
It will last. It will last.
It'll last. This love is forever.
Well, maybe. I mean, we do have some changes to another one of my favorite frames coming up. So
this is true. Nice segue. Although it's not a segue into the frame changes. Actually, let's make it. We're going to skip something to make that the perfect segue.
Yeah.
So, frame changes. There are going to be some changes to a couple of frames. So, Nyx was mentioned. Nyx. See, I'm not sure because there's Nyx and Titania that the changes are coming to. So I'm not sure which one you're referring to when you said your other favorite, because I know you like them both. Which one were you referring to?
I was referring to Nyx.
You were.
Yeah, just something about controlling the battlefield really drives me.
Yes, and as I said, I think on last episode, she has the best prime helmet in the whole game. Nyx. Do you want to go into the changes?
All right. Well, some of the changes that they were considering is removing Psychic Bolt altogether and replacing it with a debuff of some sort. They haven't mentioned what that debuff is going to be, but they are currently looking for some ideas. So people are welcome to jump onto the forums and shoot some thoughts about that. And they're also thinking about moving the Chaos ability from the 3 slot to the 2 slot.
Yes, so the debuff would be entering the 3 slot. I think these changes are fantastic because Psychic Bolt is fairly useless as an ability. It doesn't really do much. Mind Control ability is great, Chaos is great, and of course her ultimate, whatever it's called, Absorb, is really good as well. So removing Psychic Bolt and hopefully adding a really cool debuff is probably going to bring her back into the rotation, I think, for a lot of players.
Yes. There's also going to be another change to her Mind Control ability, where they're thinking of trying to give it a bit of a power boost so that whatever you take control over, you can power it up a little bit for the duration that you have control over it.
That's cool too. I like these changes. I already like Nyx. I haven't played with her enough. When I leveled her so many years ago, I haven't even played the game for that long. So many months ago, I sort of moved on to something else because I love chasing my mastery, and I haven't gone back to her. So I did get Nyx Prime with the unvaulting, so she deserves another look in from me. The next was Titania. It's not a massive change that's coming to her, but it is a welcome change. Again, did you want to go into this one?
Titania's change will be due on her 4th ability, the little pixie mode, and this change will basically be getting rid of collision damage.
Yes, so while you're flying around as a little pixie, if you bump into things because you can't fly in a straight line, you will not take damage anymore. So, yay! Not such a bad thing.
More welcome changes.
Yeah, exactly, because I can't fly. And the last one they mentioned was some changes to Vauban, or Vauban, as everyone likes to call him. Boo! The changes that are coming to him is that you can hold to charge your Tesla coils, which will cause additional damage. And they're considering some other changes as well, which is good. I mean, Vauban, I like him. He's probably one of my favorite frames, but His Bastille is a little weak. Enemies can get through it sometimes. Yeah, and I just don't like changing between grenades and things. I just stick with his Tesla coils anyway. So I'll be interested to see what ideas they've got for him, because once that deluxe skin comes out, I'm probably going to use him a fair bit more because it looks so cool. They showed it off again. Yeah, so we'll see.
Full Metal Bourbon.
Yeah, poor little Vorbs. The thing I skipped to use Lucas's fantastic segue into the frame changes was that there are also going to be changes to the pizzas, or the Orican plates, that give you a boost to energy or health or ammo. So everyone in game for the last however many years has always referred to those as pizzas because it looks like you're just slamming a pizza down on the ground. And it's hard to know exactly what it is. It's just sort of the color of the energy that tells players what has been dropped on the ground. So they're having a bit of an artwork rework so that when you do plonk them down, you can tell what it is, which is interesting. I think realistically, more advanced players probably don't necessarily need them too much. Or if you're playing with your friends, you're just going to tell them, I'm going to drop an energy pizza down on the ground. So I'm not sure how necessary it is, but we'll see. Thoughts, Lucas?
Yeah. Honestly, the idea is good, but there's just something about the current designs I'm not sold on.
Yeah, I sort of thought they were a bit rounded or something as well.
Yeah, it's something. A great idea though.
Yeah,
definitely help the newer people.
Here I am saying they were a bit rounded when the other ones look like pizzas. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. They did show off Revenant again, so he has been reworked slightly since we saw him only in the previous Devstream, which is good because he looked way too overpowered. One of the things Yeah, go on.
He still does look pretty overpowered, but at least now he feels more balanced.
Well, I think because they even mentioned in the dev stream that his laser fingers disco ball routine was just destroying everyone, and that was mainly because one, she had unlimited energy, but two, because they hadn't really sort of finalized the numbers yet. So whether or not it's going to be that powerful and endless is yet to be seen. But yeah, we'll see how powerful he is when he comes out, I guess. So the one thing you mentioned when we brought it up last week was that you didn't like the look of the fog because it looked too much like Wukong's Monkeys in the Mist routine.
Yeah.
But they've changed it. It's a fast fog now. You sort of zoom along, and when you zip through your enemies, you steal their health and their shield. So it sort of is a bit of a debuff for your colleagues, and it buffs you a little bit because it can heal you. And you can use that fog while you're in the ultimate laser fingers routine. So there's some pretty cool changes.
Yes, yeah. Now it's a hydroid fog.
You just can't let anything go, can you?
I know, it's
Poor
funny.
old Revenant. Poor old Revenant. I reckon he looks all right, except for his wispy beard. Never gonna like the wispy beard. Don't at me.
Just slam his alternate helmet on. It's all good.
We don't even know if he's got an alternate helmet. Come on. You keep saying that. I can't trust it till he's released. Anyway, he hopefully will be released really soon. Got a feeling it's going to be August, like you said last episode. So fingers crossed in the next couple of weeks.
Fingers crossed.
Something is coming very soon. It was meant to be released this week, but they decided to push it back by at least another week to get some extra polish in, and that is Frame Fighter. I'm looking forward to Frame Fighter.
This is going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. I never would have really thought that a fighting game inside Warframe would be possible, but this looks interesting. It's looking good. I'm wondering. My thought is whether or not the characters you're able to use will be frames that you have, or is it just going to be open to every single frame?
Hard to say. I mean, I'm not sure if they've actually created every single frame within Frame Fighter. There might only be something like 6 or 7 frames or
That's
whatever
true.
that you can use. So don't know about that. Don't know about their abilities. Um, and, realistically, when you look at the other arcade games that are in Warframe, and if you didn't know there were other arcade games that were in Warframe, now you're finding out. Actually, I might put that in as a tip for a future episode, so I'll tell you how to access them. It's actually pretty easy. But if you look at some of those other arcade games that are in there, they're not the greatest arcade games in the world. They're not something you're going to go out and play for hours on end, because the one that's very similar to sort of R-Type, it plays okay, it works okay, but it's not a contender for greatest side-scrolling shooter of the world. And neither is Frame Fighter going to be, and they're not intended to be. They're just a silly, fun little thing on the side. So I'm looking forward to fiddling around with it. I do love fighting games myself, so we'll see. I mean, it's probably not going to come to the console for about 1 billion years, but hopefully it'll be on the PC in a week or so, and I'll be able to play it because I started a PC account. Yay me.
Good job.
Thank
Well,
you.
when it comes to console eventually, 1v1 me.
I will, and I will kick you in the face.
More than
I may
likely.
end up losing, but as long as I kick you in the face. Last thing, so Steve went on to thank everyone because there are apparently more people playing Warframe than ever. So Warframe is growing by leaps and bounds. The last I heard, it was something in the order of around 40 million players, which is absolutely massive. It really puts Warframe up there as one of the most popular games in the world, and yet, interestingly, is one of the least talked about. There's not many of my friends that really play Warframe. Not many of people have heard of it, and yet 40 million people play it. So get out there, spread the word. It really is, if you're listening to this.
That's why I did the smart thing. I do the smart thing and make all my friends in Warframe. So then, all my friends do play Warframe.
This is true. This is true. I've tried to drag a lot of my friends into Warframe, and not all of them stuck. So they're not my friends anymore. No, I'm kidding. And there is a new console build coming soon that will have Nidus Deluxe, yay! And the rest of Tenergen round 12. So finally, we will have all of Tenergen round 12. The PC guys are luckily feasting on Tenergen round 13, but hey, at least we can get the rest of round 12. It is interesting, and for those console players that are wondering why that's the case, on PC, you get to buy Tenogen directly, so it's really easy for DE to be able to divvy money up between themselves and the Tenogen artists, whereas on the console platforms, you're not buying it directly. You've got to buy them with Platinum, and you're buying Platinum from the console manufacturers. So working out with not only the console manufacturers how that works, but a contract with the Tenogen artists is really where it starts to become sort of a bit fuzzy, which is why there tends to be things broken up into rounds and all of that kind of jazz. So we get them eventually, but PC gets them immediately because it's really straightforward. All right, so we got through Devstream 114. There was a lot of stuff there, and if you watched,
huge,
absolutely huge. If you watch the Melee stuff, you will be as blown away as us. We really haven't explained it as well as it looked. You've got to see it in action to understand how these changes are going to work. I've already shared it onto the Facebook page. You can watch the whole dev stream. I'll see if I can find a cut down version that just has the Melee demo. So I'll look around for that as well. And if I do find it, I'll throw it up there as well. Moving along. This week's beginner tips. I've decided to cover off what are some good or early Warframes for players to use. So if you're a new player, you've probably had other players tell you not to spend your starting platinum on anything apart from Warframe slots, etc. So PC players might think, oh, spend your starting plat on other things. You only get 50. On PlayStation, you can get an extra 100 by downloading a special PlayStation pack. So you can actually get 150, which means you can buy another Warframe. theoretically on the PlayStation. Again, I'd recommend not doing that because there's other things that you really need that platinum for, and you don't necessarily want to start spending money on Warframe for a long time because it does take time to sort of build up that understanding of what to spend money on. But the other thing is there's a lot of places to get frames from. So to understand how you get Warframes, it's pretty easy. Bosses on most planets, virtually every planet, I think, drop Warframe parts. So when you kill them, they will drop one of 3 parts. So there are 3 parts to a Warframe: the chassis, the systems, and your optics. Once you've got those 3 pieces, the only other part you need is the blueprint. So the blueprint will allow you to put all of those pieces together and build that Warframe. So from the bosses, you kill them over and over again until you get all 3 parts. Each part has about the same chance of dropping. One of them is generally a little bit more rare than the others, but they're all about a third chance of dropping. So usually it'll take you 5, 6, 7, 8 times to kill a boss, and you'll have all 3 parts. Sometimes you'll just keep getting that new optics over and over and over and over again, and you'll want to throw your controller at the screen. Again, PTSD, bad memories. But run in, beat those bosses, get those parts, go to the market, buy the blueprint for credits, and then build yourself a shiny new Warframe. And you can get your first Warframe from as early as Venus. So the great Lord Rhino you can get from Venus. That is the Jackal at Fossa. Excalibur you can get from Mars, from the War Node on Mars. You beat that boss and you've got yourself a new Excalibur. Mag you can get from Phobos, Valkyria from Jupiter, Nova from Europa, and Ember from Saturn. Now, of course, Saturn and Jupiter and Europa are starting to get into the mid-game. But I thought I'd include those because sometimes you can get sort of pulled through and taxied through into later parts of the game. So if you're really keen on Valkyria, for example, Jupiter's not that deep into the star chart. Ember is pretty fast. By the time you get to Saturn, you really need to have a good understanding of Warframe because the enemy level is getting to around level 20, which is when new players start to get a bit trickier. But all of those are pretty viable frames. Some would say maybe Mag is not, and that's arguable. She's got a good kit if you know how to use her, and I don't necessarily like to use her too much. I've got a Mag Prime, which looks really good, but I'm not really very much across exactly all of the synergy between her abilities. So I don't like to use her myself, but there are plenty of Mag fans out there. Much love to you, good people. My recommendations would be Rhino and Excalibur up front. Go get them. They're both excellent frames. Rhino will get you right through the star chart because he's just a fantastic tank. And of course, my Bay, Valkyria, go get her because she's just amazing. But Nova, Ember, all of them are really good. Another one I would recommend once you've got the ability to smash some bosses pretty good and proper is Nyx, who you can get from Forward Invasions. Now, I haven't mentioned what invasions are, and I will go into that in the future. But if you go to Invasions and you see Forward Manifestation, do those, because when you kill that particular boss, he will drop a piece of Nyx. So there are plenty of good Warframes there. But yeah, chase after Venus and Excalibur. They're really early in the star chart. You can get both of their parts quickly, and you probably need to get up to about Jupiter to be able to get all of their resources. But still early in the game, you can build those guys. Any additions, Lucas?
Just keeping in mind that the Warframes and parts do have quite a lengthy time in their development. Your optics, chassis, and systems, in general, they have a 12-hour bake time. And the Warframe themselves have a 72-hour cooking time, I think.
Yep. 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, so basically what you want to do is you want to build those chassis and systems and neuroptics whenever you can, because as soon as you get that third part and you've got them all built, you want to stick them in the oven because it's another 3 days. So realistically, it's going to be 4 days once you've got everything before you can actually have that Warframe. But it is free. You can get every single Warframe in this game without paying a cent. That's why I suggest don't. If you don't have to, don't pay until you're ready to give DE some cash because they deserve it for all their hard work. All right. Advanced tips. Again, these are not be all and end all and listen to us and we're telling you what to do and how to play the game. No. This is us saying this is what we think works and this is some suggestions for advanced players. If you know how to do this already, power to you. If you don't, you're welcome. What have you got for us this week, Lucas?
Okay, so first off, I'm just going to say that I hope I can actually describe this and explain it properly, as I feel as if I've messed up a couple times during the last few weeks. So let's just jump in. This week, I'm going to be talking about vault runs, and more specifically, how to solo vault runs. Now, what the vault runs are is you have a little planet, I guess you could kind of call it, off to the edge of the map called the Derelict. If you can't see this derelict, then it's because you don't have the derelict keys, which can be purchased for 2,500 credits from the market under keys and drones in the equipment section. Basically, what the derelict is a Orokin ship that has been deserted. The infestation's running wild on it, but the Orokin did leave behind vaults that contain some pretty powerful mods. This will be a precursor into what's to come over the next couple of weeks. So, talking about the vaults. Now, the vaults themselves require a special key to open. Like once you've used the key to go into the derelict, you then need a second key to unlock the vault. There are 4 keys. There's the Dragon Hobbled, Dragon Bleeding, Dragon Decaying, and Dragon Extinguished. The Hobbled restricts your movement speed. The Bleeding reduces your Warframe's health by a drastic amount. Decaying reduces shields by a drastic amount. And Extinguished reduces your, your attack strength. So just a little thing saying that these combos can be used when doing a proper vault run with 4 people. The key that is required is completely random generated, so it's going to be a little bit luck related if you're doing it solo. But a few combos that I found work all right would be Vault with the Hobbled key, because of his second ability, he can speed things up and move at a decent speed, even though he's been slowed down. Rhino with the Bleeding key. You don't need his health when you've got Iron Skin up. It's self-explanatory. He's just an absolute tank. He'll just bulldoze through everything. You won't have to worry about his health. Inaros or Nidus with the Decaying key. Both these frames do not have a shield whatsoever, so there is no loss that the Decaying key can monopolize.
And how much is your health on your Inaros right now?
I think it's about 5,500.
Yeah. He doesn't need a shield.
I've seen people with like 8,000, but yeah, it's not terrible.
It's a respectable 5,500.
Yeah, it's respectable. Well, if I decided to use companion synergy like from last week, well then, that would be insane. Anyways, going on, and realistically, any frame with the Extinguish key, just as long as you're using a respectable, powerful weapon. My suggestions are stuff like the Heck or the Tigris, just stuff that can normally destroy anything that gets in your path. So these dragon keys can be picked up from the dojo, the Orokin lab in particular. I couldn't find the exact prices of them, but They're fairly cheap from what I can remember. You just pretty much have to get into a dojo. And as for the best node to do solo runs on, I would say the capture mission, as it gives you the best opportunity to, once you've caught your enemy, to then simply explore and find the vault room. Now, when you find the vault room, it will have a symbol on the door relating to one of the 4 different keys. At the top right corner of your screen, you'll see a symbol that is of the key you have equipped. If this does not match up, quit mission. Just simply leave mission. What I have found is that by leaving the mission, if you do not complete a mission in the derelict, it does not cost you derelict keys. So you can just simply rerun it as many times as you want until that key pops up. Yes, it's a little bit of a RNG. Am I going to have to reset this one? Do I have to go through the loading screen again? But it is worth it, as it does give you good rewards and much needed mods. This is completely optional. I mean, this is only if you can't get a proper 4-man team. Just keep that in mind.
That's a very good tip. So we don't do solo runs. We don't do vault runs enough because generally we try and wait until we've got 4 people available to do a vault run, and then we all put on the keys and do what we need to. But it's good to know that it's actually relatively easy to go in there solo. It's just time consuming. So I might give this a shot, and your suggestions for frames are really good as well. Although, Rhino is pretty clearly obvious for the bleeding one, but yeah, very good. My only advice to everyone is to remember to equip your all of your keys and everything before you go in, because I've forgotten too many times and it's painful.
Also, when you finish the mission, unequip the key. Just because you don't want those negatives dragging out into maybe a sortie or something.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Lucas. Next section, we generally would have a bit of a community call out here. This week we didn't have too much. We had a lot of feedback from people. Just to continue the sentiment from last week, we have to say thank you to everyone that has been listening and sending us information, joining our Discord, joining our Facebook page and our Twitter. We did get a couple of emails from people as well this week, just to reach out and say hello and to thank us for things and that they're enjoying the episodes. We're blown away by the feedback and the response that we're getting. So thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Hopefully you will continue to enjoy it, and hopefully we'll continue to do a good job. So let us know if we're not. Reach out to us. We keep saying this every week, but we do mean it. We're happy for you to talk to us. We're just ordinary individuals after all, much like yourselves. And we really want to start getting into doing some interviews and things. So like I mentioned last week, we're looking at doing what we're calling the community guest star, which is basically anyone. It could be you listening right now. A 5-minute stint on the show talking about something that you want to talk about, your favorite frames, things like that, just to give yourself and your clan or whatever you like a bit of a shout out. And of course, then we'll have the community spotlight as well, which is more for Twitch streamers and YouTubes and things, and they'll be longer sessions. So please reach out to us. I do have some guidelines or some rules when it comes to Twitch streamers and YouTubers. So Twitch streamers, I would expect that you probably have at least 100 subscribers. And as a YouTuber, 500 subscribers. The reason I say this is because you've got to have had some dedication to at least get to those minimum levels. I don't want to talk to someone who's just, I don't want to do a massive interview for someone who's just started Twitch streaming last week and, may end up stopping next week because they run out of time or they get tired. So that is definitely something that a new Twitch streamer can jump on our guest stars and have their 5 minutes and say, check out my Twitch stream. Most definitely. reach out to us either way. We really want to start doing these. We do have a few people that are interested, so hopefully we'll start getting into those really soon. But the main sentiment I wanted to say is thank you. We're really appreciating the feedback we're getting.
Yes, thank you. The community so far has been very supportive, and it's great to see that there are people out there that enjoy listening to our random ramblings.
Indeed. And if you don't just want to enjoy our random ramblings, you can read our written ramblings, I guess. We have started a Facebook page, as we mentioned earlier. We're looking to keep that up to date with news from the Warframe world, funny little memes that we come across, fashion frame, screenshots, all of that kind of stuff. We do want people to share as much as they can, as much as they like. So join our Facebook page. It is Cephalon Squared, of course, very easy to find. Our Discord is less easy to find because you need to get to a certain size before you can have your own named server. We aren't there yet, but we do have a bunch of people that have joined, so shout out to those guys. Thank you. We look forward to having a look at some of those fashion frames that some of you have shared recently. Join our Discord. Where can you find information for the Discord? Well, I'm glad you asked. Go to our Twitter page. I have pinned to the top of the Twitter page a list of links, which includes a link to Facebook, a link to Discord, and our email address, which is, of course, cephalonsquared@gmail.com. And we're working on a YouTube page as well, because there are people out there that like to listen to things on YouTube as well, even though podcasts do tend to be easier. I don't want to restrict anyone. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, power to you, my friend. We want to give you that opportunity. So we're working on all of this. If there's anything else you want us to look at, let us know. But this has been episode 3 of Cephalon Squared. Thank you very much for listening. We will regularly be recording every Sunday night from now on, provided nothing major goes wrong. I have been and will always be Greg. You can find me at Mad Capsules on Twitter. I, of course, have my very ugly-looking website called madcapsulesgaming.com. Reach out to me. Say hello. Don't be a stranger. Lucas, where can people find you?
And I've been your other host, Lucas, and you can just simply find me at Twitter at Silverlight, SILVRLGHT. Follow me.
Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to episode 4 next week. Adios.
See ya.